Like one thing you can be guaranteed is that you can't silence me, and not forever anyway. And sometimes when you think you're silencing me, can they get so planela?
This is the Dr. Tlaleng Mofokeng Show. Thank you very much for being here. Welcome and thank you so much for tuning in. We are going to look at how the autonomy of oppressed and marginalized people affects our economic, political, and social aspects of our lives. Buing about these very important conversations. Whose body is this anyway? Remember to subscribe, like, and be part of this important community. Behold, it's a revolution. I am so glad to be joined firstly by Naledi Chirwa, our honorable member.
Hello.
And we have, of course, Letlhogonolo Mokgoroane, who's a brilliant legal mind and advocate, but also co-founder of Cheeky Natives. Naomi is also a fierce feminist, someone that I've come to love as a healthcare worker, but she's also the founder of Community Health Initiative as well, who's joining us from Liberia. In some way, all of you connect, right, to this idea of becoming and finding your voice and your strength. But we know that it's not always like that, right?
Of course.
When you talk about freedom, it gets me to think about the ultimate sense of ownership, right?
Sure.
Self-determination and autonomy. Like, there's one thing to have political freedom, which we understand as South Africans, especially because we are now post 30 years of democracy.
Yeah.
How old were you when you first owned yourself?
24.
What happened at 24?
I started working at the Constitutional Court for Justice Madlanga. Shout out. I feel he demanded me to show up in a ways that
Sure.
like the world hadn't demanded. You know, one day he asked, "What do you think?" And I was like, "Oh, we're allowed to have opinions here." From there on, I was like, "Okay, I'm walking in it."
Who dictated who Naledi could be?
That is so loaded. When our Dr. Alfe, wait. Alfe, there's too many elements to count. Right? There's like there's women that have lived before me that have influenced without me even being conscious of it. And most recently I was talking to a friend about the other time, right? So I'm uncultured. I'm so uncultured. I don't know anything about I'm just uncultured. We're freestyling through life. Kopitori, right? And the closest we have to culture is change. And our language. And our Pitori. And then I go there, there's things that you looked down on. And then you experience them. And you were like, we were lied to about this one. And an example I'll make about this is that little community women will make for themselves in the village. Or just, and I'm like, these women cracked the code because they come here to gossip about the system.
And make plans.
In the way it manifests itself here. They talk about how to maneuver issues of marriage and stuff like that in very, very radical ways. I think more radical than I thought they were capable of.
Right, there's a belittling as well of that knowledge, of that production of knowledge, and even like the geographial space where it happens.
So you've been with the community with this woman. Oh, okay, I want to see.
Because it's family now, right? Yeah. And I can take and I've got my own preconceptions about the whole thing. I'm like, I'm funu kotiza, I'm funu in, and I'm like, I almost missed out on this important community of older women who have gone through this, who have been through this, who come in here, even because they know Angwa's peg and all those things, and they're very welcoming of that. It's just the fact that it's that little community.
The little secrets that you speak about are not considered as like feminist, right? But they do revolutionary things.
Or even sophisticated. Yeah. There's a certain sophistication as well, right? That we impose on different spaces. And if the same,
guys,
of course,
you know,
you code switch for a reason. I mean, it exists for a reason, And And I think even the spaces that we create for ourselves as women in urban spaces,
Sure.
we don't see it as equal to the black women in the rural areas creating a safer space for themselves.
Absolutely.
We look down on that. So there's also even like elements within and layers, right, of complexity within this level of oppression. And Naomi, thank you for joining us, and I'm so glad to have you back on. And we were just talking about, firstly, you know, before we owned our autonomy, where did it reside? And we're just sharing a little bit about how society often dictates, right, the parameters of who we can be and how much of ourselves we can be. And perhaps to bring you on into this conversation at this point, to ask you about your own autonomy. You know, before you owned fully your own autonomy, who dictated it, and where did that lie, and what it looked like for you?
Okay, so being born with a presentation of feminine person, there's nothing else. This is you. You are now you're a woman, and everything that comes along with you being a woman, it was dictated to you. So it was when I grew up and understood myself, and like, I don't have to be quiet, I don't have to be respectful, I don't have to be submissive before I embedded being a woman. I can be a woman, and all of those other things that have been denied me. I am the owner of my body. I'm the owner of how I think and how I feel. So I should define myself.
This is me, right? Me is me. And for many people, that is constructed for us for so long, and we can only really claim that in our adulthood because you present in a particular way in society.
Yeah.
People, of course, respond to you in a different way. But when you've taken the decision to take your own autonomy and self-determination, it's almost like they punish you, right, for that very audacity, I would call it, to be different. But it's not even being different. You just want to be free.
Yeah.
When you do become your truest self, friends leave, you struggle to date, because now people don't want Naledi that wears shorts, mini skirts. They want Naledi with the long dress. And you're like, actually, no. My parents made me wear this dress for so long, I just don't wear it, right? So for me, I think it has to do with the fact that, like, you start to really realize why people are in your life.
Sure.
Like, for you, or for what you can give them, or how they can control you. And then you have to make your own decisions and say, okay, like, screw this, right? Like, when I started wearing nail polish, right, it was a decision that I just made.
Sure.
Like, one day we were at a nail parlor, and I was like, oh, I want to try this out, right? And I think it's the audacity to just walk in a room with purple nail polish and seeing how people react, right?
Absolutely.
To you not being uncomfortable at their uncomfortability.
Yeah, it's like with how we fail to also understand that sometimes people use femininity to just use it as immunity against violence, right? Because that's what the patriarchal system demands out of women, demands out of certain people. So now when you use that, sometimes it's not even a matter of, being a penal
woman.
Yes.
Penal princess.
Hey, sometimes I make violence. It's like I'm talking about the phone number was thing. I want to mara moto as type yaga give me yagi. Mara because I was to go to Tibora once or la most thing. You just give me your number. Even no panel or the by check of kin number thing.
Also,
right? Because they also understand why you are doing that. Who has taxi type yaga? When I was good measurable I'm shooting above the stars.
My weight.
Right? But they also understand that you know your vulnerability in that moment. They also bargain on your fears as well. And it shouldn't be the case that we're unable to explore the different sides that we have to ourselves, right? I should be able to wear bum shorts for 10 years, and then after that 10 years decide, you know what, let me be a princess, the Disney princess I wanted to be when I was 5, and I couldn't because sometimes it's just that as well. And we don't have the room to maneuver in different personalities that we have. It's like when you guys sent me the email to come here today, they're like, no, dress as your personality. I'm like, my sister, I've got 3.
Which one? Then this is the one I love the most, for the record.
So which one do you want?
Often when we talk about activism, and when I think of your guys' lives and your journeys, we often see you as speaking and standing up for justice and all of these important things. For you, who are oppressed people and what do they look like?
Black people in particular, because there's a history to that. We don't wake up and find ourselves where we are today. Colonization happened. And I think taking cognizance of that gives us a reason, a justified reason, to firstly locate Black people as a marginalized group, as an oppressed group, especially because colonization was never reversed. Growing up, right, my grandmother was non-partisan for some reason. And she would take me to IDP meetings, where the municipality comes or the district comes, and then they contribute, the community contributes and all of that. Each and every single meeting, my grandmother would stand up and fight about something. She would fight about things that were not done for people who are marginalized. And she would always name them, right? She would speak about clinics and the fact that women can't access those clinics because Aguna 123 123. And then that always became the trend, right? So then you start having a picture with, okay, this group of people is marginalized. And that picture that she created for me then is what then I grew up to then understand, right?
Yeah.
So when we say colonization happened and we got dispossessed of our land, and we count that as colonization, then what is the opposite of that? What is decoloniality if it doesn't look like taking back the land, if it doesn't look like, getting rid of some of the politics that came with colonization, right? So there's many different things. In fact, we still use some of those rules to implement them, and to a very large extent, they leave the very same collective on the outskirts. And even the implementation of mthetho, right? It is contextual. You'll find people saying, no, but the law has eyes, it sees race. They are not lying, because you look at the prison industrial complex and the history of the prison industrial complex, and then you say, no, but the prisons were made for Black people.
And they're making profits, right? And run by private companies.
They were made for Black people. So I think if we're speaking in the interest of justice, beyond reconciliation, we're talking about Black people. We're talking about Black people when we are saying, who are the oppressed?
And so talking about the law has demonized, right? Firstly, people like me, right? If you're trans, queer, there was a point where your identity is criminalized. There are parts in Africa where identity is criminalized.
Still, when new laws are being brought on.
Every day, So for me, I think it's people pushed to the margins by any system.
Yes.
So whether it's Black people, Black women, queer people, trans people, non-binary people, they're all pushed to the margins.
Yeah.
And that for me is oppressed people, because ultimately we're saying that they don't have a right to be.
Absolutely.
Now, with everything that you know and have been, what do you say to little Naomi?
Little Naomi was violated at the age of 14 and became a teenage mother. And the way society named, shame, and blame her, and the way she stood strong and firm in the woman she has become right now, I'll just tell her that I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of you redefining yourself. Beyond redefining yourself is the resilience that you have built around societal limitation, societal naming, blaming, and shaming that they put on you as a young woman, and not even considering the consequences that you were exposed to as a young person. And I would also just tell her, thank you for breaking barriers. The way that we have been posed in a way that we have to conform to society's definition of our strength, of our being, of our existence, and the way we challenge and interrogate and dismantle it at a very little age, that after being named, shamed, and blamed, it didn't deter little Naomi. She was so determined. She knew her person. She knew that she was going to redefine herself. She knew that she had meaningful contribution to contribute to the society and to herself, because I'm just proud of you, little Naomi.
We agree, yeah. For you, Letlhogonolo, when did you own your autonomy? But more importantly, before that, who dictated who and what you could be?
Society dictates, right? I think it's interesting for me, ever since I came out, I don't like the word, but came out as non-binary, gender is a fascinating thing for me, because I could be wearing the most, let's call it masculine thing, and then someone would say ma'am, And you've seen how like I short circuit because I'm like, but if I had to claim an identity of womanhood, you would strip it away from me, right?
Be like a weapon to be like, no, how dare
you would remind me, right, that I'm not a cis woman. But at the same time, you are badging me with it, even when I'm not trying to own that identity. So it's interesting for me, for you to say, when did I own? I think it's a continuous ownership thing, right? I'm beginning to love parts of myself that I didn't love when I was a teenager because of what society told me. And I'm finding that the more I'm releasing myself from the shackles of society, the more I'm living in my own truth. But that truth is uncomfortable because it means that other people have to face themselves about their own truth.
Naledi, what are you saying to little Naledi as you sit here today?
I would say to her, you're going to survive. You're going to survive. But also she was badass. Eh?
Oh yeah.
No, that girl, sometimes I look, I'm like,
she's still there, that girl.
No, I'm shy this under sometimes because I'm like, where did you get this template from, my sister? You know, because this is a girl who was fighting for South African realism in Matric to say, Sifuna John Guy, Nasfunu Shakespeare, right? And went on to do it in university as well. I think a few years ago, Dr. Maya invited me to one of his classes. And we used to fight a lot in the University of Pretoria about Shakespeare and South African realism. And then he brings me into his class and he's like, I just want you to just sit in the class. And then I realized they even changed the curriculum as I've had and they're giving them South African realism. And I'd never done drama at Wes at the time. And then I was like, you know, those little fights we put up, guys.
They're not so little.
They're not so little. Right? So I'd also tell her, you are not so little, my little baby.
Yeah. Mwanyaka. What has power taken from you that you are intentionally taking back?
I think it's a constant back and forth. Hey, it tries to take it back. The ability to talk back. Oh my God, I will always talk back. I will do it in different ways. I will do it subtly. I will do it loud. I will do it with respect. I will do it with being uncouth. I will always talk back. Like one thing you can be guaranteed is that you can't silence me, and not forever anyway. And sometimes when you think you're silencing me, these voices, they are very important, and we crossed very big mountains to be able to claim these voices. And even the women before us fought big fights for us to be able to talk back, for us to be able to watch people in their eyes and have eye contact with them.
Naledi, I want you to raise your glass and tell us what you are toasting to.
I'm toasting to economic freedom in our lifetime.
I'm raising my glass to trans people, non-binary people finding love that stays.
Well, cheers.
Staying love.
And to all of you, thank you for choosing to stay with us as we explored another fascinating conversation on the body politics. From Naledi and Letlhogonolo, I am truly, truly inspired, so proud to know that, you know, our future is in the hands of such brilliance, and that it's not only exceptional to the people who get to share a seat with me around the table, but that we see ourselves in each other, and that is part of us humanizing each other and giving ourselves back the dignity that was taken from us. We live such intersectional lives, we have so many different layers of challenges, but it's often in the mundane and the everyday experiences that we can truly reclaim our power. And I hope this has been just that for you, because I truly feel like I can get some land right now. Behold, it's a revolution. I'm Dr. Tlaleng Mofokeng, and thank you so much for joining us.
Hey.
The whiff of land smells very nice. Like